Number two, we will implement the Honorable Don Paulier Ministerial Review Committee recommendations on the development of sports in Papua New Guinea, with greater emphasis in sports and cultural diplomacy. That's one of the important things that our minister did, which many of us are not aware of it. Let's put a round of applause for our good minister, outgoing minister. The minister also advised me, Honorable Don Paulier also advised me, that we must employ administrators for each sporting code. Right now, we don't have administrators for each sporting code. Our good honorable member said, if there are 30 sports, employ 30 administrators to work in the headquarters, and they must be paid. These administrators will then provide the oversight on programs conducted for each of the sporting federations. Unlike before. Going further, I'm also thinking that we should provide office space for all the federations who does not have offices. It will be done tomorrow. This is not just a speech. Those national federations that have office, for those who do not have office and are operating from houses, or under the tree, or wherever you are in the car, you will now have an office in this building. Then the office will be fully furnished and equipped. We will provide you logistics, and most importantly, if we have enough money, we will provide you vehicles to operate. This is a new way forward on our PNG Sports Foundation and National Federation should partner most of the important sports programs. Since our National Sports Policy was endorsed in 2021, its implementation plan was not developed, and sports policy implementation was in limbo. We will develop the implementation plan. You cannot develop or come up with a policy and not have the implementation plan to implement the policy. All right? What we will do is design and develop the implementation plan and then implement the policy that we have put in place. Last year, a submission was made to CACC to restructure PNG Sports Foundation. The restructured submission was rejected by CACC. It was indeed a waste of time and public funds to incomplete consultants and officers who overlooked the restructure requirements. We will restructure the organization again, but this time in partnership with all the national federations, provincial governments, PNG Olympic Committee. They decide how PNG Sports Foundation structure sits. We will also review the PNG Sports Foundation Amendment Act 2020. I think most of you are aware of it. The only amendment made to PNG Sports Foundation Act 2006 was Section 27.3 on the issue of eligibility to be appointed as CEO of 60 years and above to 65. Apart from that, no other significant amendments were made. Today, moving forward, the Act will be reviewed in partnership with stakeholders, Constitutional Review Committee, State Solicitor, other entities, will join us together and review the Act that will regulate the policy and the industry in this country. I recall establishing the PNG Sports Foundation Internal Audit Committee in 2021 as directed by the Finance Department. To date, the Internal Audit Committee operations is defunct. I don't know why people are too scared to resource the committee. We will fix that. And we will start all over again. Audit committee is important. Their job is to help us to do the right thing. We will develop a sports industry regulatory framework and set up a sports industry board to regulate the thriving sporting industry in Papua New Guinea. Sports mechanisms, services are being grossly abused by business houses due to our negligence. The board will provide the regulatory oversight in the sports industry's economic performance. We will put a submission through to NEC for a sports directorate to be established in all provincial governments, separate from the provincial community development. How can we have the ministry operating separately while in the provinces the sports section or the desk falls under community development? And I guess my brothers from community development will take note of that. We have to correct that. The structure must align itself nicely. We will decentralize the head office functions. Too many officers at head office. Few of them are working hard, the rest drifting aimlessly, creating nuisance and complicating progress. 20% will remain in head office, while 80% will relocate to regional office to serve the 80% of our athletes living in districts and villages who deserve our support. NCDC is not Papua New Guinea. Lei is not Papua New Guinea. We need to get our priorities right. To decentralize, we will refurbish, capacitate NCDC, National Training Institute and Lei with necessary sports resources and adequate technical support services. We will also be looking at changing NSI into a sports safe college, which is the initiative of our outgoing CEO, and it's my duty to carry that forward. And eventually, we might end up getting the sports safe college into a university to be a training and education hub in the Pacific. We will liaise with provincial governments to provide land to establish NGI, Highlands and Aro. And mind you, many people think that we've been properly established. No, we haven't. Over the last 30 years, we have no office, no land, no facilities, no nothing in East New Britain. Nothing in the islands, and also nothing in Europe. Very sad. We will now we will build capacity. We will talk to provincial governments to give us land. We will build houses, staff houses, sporting facilities, and deliver the progress. I know decentralization process will take more than 10 years, but it starts today. This will make events like PNG Unity Games not just bigger and better, but more competitive and rewarding when athletes in all our districts stand out in numbers to compete fairly. Recycled athletes in cities will have to perform harder to stay on top. Comrades, you and I were born with a gift from God trapped in the inside. When we discover our gift, renew our commitment, and improve our performance relentlessly, we can win an Olympic medal, more Commonwealth medals, maybe all Pacific medals, Pacific Games medals, and expand our campaign with greater success in the thriving professional sporting industry. Sports will become an integral part of our everyday life in our villages and metropolitan centers across the nation, thereby helping to alleviate cross-cutting sectoral issues as we move forward into the next millennium. We will contribute immensely to national development budget than ever before. We will reduce the unemployment rate by 50% plus when we combine sports with education. Kids want to play sports and earn millions of kiddos like Cristiano Ronaldo in soccer or Justin Olam in rugby league. Kids must be in school and complete elementary to college. No school, no paid job as professional athlete. Sports and education combined can provide the missing development dynamics moving forward. We have seen the two approaches. One, formal, that's where you have school children coming through schools, junior development program, going up to national competitions, to ANTES, and to another. You have the informal competition where village sports to provincial sports, and then you follow the pathway. The idea that I have here is that in order to encourage all our children to go back to school, we have to make sports education compulsory. A village boy cannot participate in professional sport. You want to be highly paid in a professional sport, you have to go to school. You have to be educated, you have to complete 1 to grade 12 or even university sports in order to qualify to play for money. You and I know very well that in other countries, players are paid millions of peanuts. In this country, we're not recognizing that. The idea that I have is that sports and education will come together. Sports will be taught in schools, and those who continue from grade 1 to grade 12 all the way to university will be given an opportunity to take part in soccer academy, rugby academy, with scholarship in Australia, wherever, and then be part of the NRL or FIFA for that matter. You will see the biggest problem we have in international competitions is that the issue of attitude problem. Many of our sporting heroes, when they go overseas, they cannot last longer because of attitude issues, personality issues. How do we correct that? That has to be corrected when a child goes to school, get properly educated, and at the same time play sports. These are some of the discussions that we're having at the moment. And I guess our good minister, outgoing minister, Honorable Don Pole, and his team have did a nice write-up. Copies of this write-up will be given to you of what we should do in order to manage the development of sports in this country. That is a very interesting paper, a good paper. I've gone through that paper. We need to look at some of the recommendations made in that paper. And I'd like to thank my colleague, outgoing CEO, Albert. You've done a lot of work over the last 12 years, I know. There's been a lot of challenges, disagreements, but you've maintained your stand and you've led the organization this far. Your commitments that you've left behind will be my commitment. The minister's commitments will be also the organization's commitments. And let me assure you that where you started and where you left, we will continue from there. Thank you very much.